Hello everyone, my name is Tor and welcome back to today's video. Thank you for joining me in another video. If this is your first time, welcome. I hope you enjoy your stay. I seem to be talking about a lot of different topics, so if you're into anything that you see in my video list, please subscribe. The channel is growing. I'm obsessed. Thank you all for contributing to the comments down below. We've had some really good discussions in the comments, and that's what these videos are for. So in today's video, I will be continuing to talk about heated rivalry because it has me currently in a chokehold. It's all I can think about. It's all I can talk about, especially episode 4. So we're going to be breaking down episode 4 because for me, so far, I feel like it was one of the better episodes. I watched it twice. I've watched them all twice, but I really feel like there was so much happening and there was so much reading between the lines in episode 4 that I still don't fully understand this. So I'm hoping some of you can help me understand it down below. In other news as well, Season 2 has been confirmed. Super exciting. I hear Season 2 potentially will focus more on Book 6, which is the long game. So hoping for that. But without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so I have some notes here just to discuss some of the themes. It seems like we were getting a softer side, a more developed side of Shane and Ilya's relationship. The cuddling, the staying over, the like, I want you to stay at my house. Like more, the relationship is progressing beyond just purely physical intimacy. And it seems like it reached an inflection point after the tuna melt scene. I'm going to be jumping around a lot in here, but this is just where I want to start. The tuna melt scene. Tuna melts are not really big in Canada. I think they're more of like an American thing, which is interesting because I was like, I've never had a tuna melt before. Also, I'm like, the whole episode seems to really focus on, elements of bisexuality, or that more, like open-endedness where Ilya really brings up women in front of Shane. I was like, sort of like, what is he doing here? Like, what is he testing at? And I think it was like, initially he was sort of like trying to like come out and express something to him, but Ilya is not a very effective communicator. And Shane also doesn't really seem to be that effective either because he wasn't really picking up what Ilya was putting down. But essentially, there seems to be a lot of Ilya catering towards Shane, wanting him to be comfortable, like with the ginger ale, like, is your ginger ale cold enough? And we see that sort of theme come up a few times throughout the episode, one with like the bartender, and then with his parents, when he's like, oh, do you have a ginger ale? And they're like, no. Do you want sparkling water? And they're like, just have wine. And he's like, no, I don't want wine. But a lot of this episode seemed to focus on the concept of Shane, at least visibly presenting as like straight, or like pursuing some type of like relationship with a woman, whether that be from his parents talking about being with a Swedish princess, him pursuing this relationship with Rose, this famous actress. Also the concept of Hayden. So Hayden is his like friend, his assistant captain, the one that has many children, but seems to always be, longing for Shane's attention in some way. Even joking, they make like the joke like, oh, do you want to get me pregnant too? And he's like, haha, like, but like, I think he's kind of like, yeah. So I feel like Hayden is like an undercover bisexual character. I haven't read the books. If you watched my first video on this, you'll know that I have not read the books. I've not been able to get the books, and I'm traveling in a week. And if I order them now, they won't come. So I'm going to try to find them at the airport. Fingers crossed YVR has them. I'm hoping. But I think it's really interesting. Like, Hayden seems to be very, open around Shane, talking about sex and everything, but Shane is obviously very closed off. And we see that when Shane is trying to leave for like hang out, his hookup with Lily, and is very nonchalant about it and very defensive about it. Back to the whole tuna melt scene. So obviously they eat this tuna melt. I don't really want to get into like Ilya with his dad's situation, but when he comes back and then they start cuddling, and then it gets almost uncomfortable for Shane, and then he has to resort immediately to something he knows and what their relationship is known for, which is like sex. And then when they say each other's names for the first time, because they obviously call each other by their last names, is sort of like this equal sort of distance by referring to them as their last names, as their more, public names, whereas like Shane and Ilya is more personal. And when they say that for the first time after they do their business, that's when Shane sort of like recoils and is like, I can't do this anymore. Like, he seems to be confronting his own inner demons around his, sexuality, whereas Ilya seems more comfortable with his, whereas Shane is more fighting it. And that's when he starts to go, well, it's like, you want to talk about women? Well, I'm going to go get a girlfriend and make it public in front of you. Rose and Shane, when this whole situation happens, I'm like, first of all, who's JJ? Have we been introduced to JJ before? This friend that like randomly calls him up and is like, hey, you got to come to this bar. And then why does he just randomly sit at her table? Like, he sort of just like sits And then it's sort of like, oh, hey. Like, I was like, how did this whole thing happen? I feel like there must be something in the book that maybe not translated well to television, because I just feel like we sort of like jumped and then he was like already talking with her and now they're suddenly dating. So I think the Rose storyline is an interesting one that we're going to see develop. I feel bad. I feel bad for the Beards. Honestly, every time there's like a Beard situation, I feel bad for like the women, because ultimately they want, like, Rose wants a loving partner from Shane. She wants a boyfriend, but Shane ultimately wants to make Ilya jealous via Rose, and obviously to dissuade any type of rumor mill around them being together. So I feel bad for Rose in this instance. And also Rose's friend Miles, when they're in the whole club scene, like, he's doing the most. Like, is he always like that? Like, do him and Ilya have a situation together? Because he sort of like acknowledges him in a way that seems like they know each other. And that's when Ilya like turns around and is like, oh my God, clocked. Like, there's Shane. But when they're dancing and Rose is like here, Shane is here, and then the friend Miles is here, that whole sandwich situation, like, there's something interesting about like the friend. Like, why is the friend like kissing on his neck? Like, I would never think to do that to like one of my friends, his partners. Like, that seems like a bit like, was he pushing the boundaries? Does he know? Like, does he catch a vibe? Doing the most there. Curious to know what the people that have read the book will say about Miles and like what comes up in that regard. But yeah, doing the most. Ilya seems to be definitely jealous of Rose, because essentially, like, they both long for each other. They both want each other. And I think the club scene, when it's just over and over again of this is not enough, this is not enough, this is not enough, and then they long for each other in like this club, I think that really does say something, because like, in their heads, their internal monologue is like, they don't want to be with the people they're with right now. They want to be together. Their current situations are not enough to fulfill them, but they can't be together for a variety of different reasons. So they're sort of still longing. They still love each other. Like, they are in love with each other, like, no doubt, but they can't express it in ways that are effective and are ways that are public. And I think the ending scene, when they obviously go back to like their respective rooms, if you contrast how in the beginning of the episode Shane and Ilya are at Shane's house and they just can't get enough, they can't get their hands off of each other, they're making out passionately up the stairs to where they eventually have sex. And to see then that contrasted with how Shane treats Rose, she's essentially walking up the stairs by herself, getting undressed by herself. And he's sort of like, he looks very detached. He looks very disassociated from the whole situation. And then right at the end, Ilya is obviously pleasuring himself. But then when they pan to the camera, they both are like, Ilya wanted to get laid. That's why he wanted to go out. And Shane, I guess, had to do something with Rose in order to like maintain that relationship. But they both look so disassociated because I think they're both thinking about each other. So there's a lot that goes on. There's a lot of longing, a lot of yearning. I feel like the fourth episode was my favorite so far. It is interesting, the whole like swing now to where they're focused on like female relationships, but they obviously still yearn for each other. So I'm curious to know what you all think based on episode number 4. I am literally, so I can't wait for episode 5 this coming week, but then I'm literally going to be halfway around the world, literally on the 26th, and I don't know if I'll be able to watch the season finale with everybody. Like, I'm actually like, I need to like think of like some type of contingency plan to watch episode 6, the finale, when I'm abroad, because I don't know, like, they don't have Crave in New Zealand. Like, they may have HBO, but I don't know if it'll work. Like, I need to like figure this out, because like, I can't not see this finale until we're back. Like, I can't like not see it. I just want to address Jacob Firstman, I don't know, that LA love guy, where he basically talked about how he assumed like the actor's sexuality and was like, queer stories should only be told by queer artists, and like, if they were really like gay or queer, they wouldn't be so timid to like address it or say it. And then François Arnaud, who plays Scott Hunter, was like, is there only one way to portray gay sex on TV? And like, does it have to be how these like LA gays do it versus like how these closeted hockey players do it? And I think it's like, it does open an interesting conversation. I think it is important for queer people to obviously be involved in queer storytelling, but I think having Jacob Tierney as like a gay director, I think that's sort of like, that directs the whole thing. I don't think as a society we've learned really much, especially from like the Kit situation from Heartstopper, where like they basically were like forcing him to come out as like bisexual. At the same time, I can see them wanting to be like, well, if you are some type of like queer person, you should say it, because we're all assuming, based on like how involved people are in this story, that you would be. But then it's like the same as like Brokeback Mountain. Like, when Brokeback Mountain came out, people were speculating around Jake Gyllenhaal and Heath Ledger, but at the end of the day, it's like something private for them, and like actors on TV, even though you make a parasocial relationship with them, it's one-sided. Like, they don't owe you anything in that regard for like personal life. And I don't think it's right for us to, like, as a society, force people to out themselves. But I do think it does raise an interesting question, is like, if they are, they should be more proud to like say it, and maybe they aren't, and that's okay too, because they're acting, essentially they're actors, they have to act. Like, it doesn't have to be real life, it's not a reality TV show, it's an act, like it's a scripted television show. So I don't think it's right what this actor said, but I do think it does raise an interesting conversation for sure. So that's my video. Let me know what you think down below. Let me know where you're at. If anyone in Vancouver knows where I can get these freaking books, please let me know, because I need to buy them. Like, this is the one time I can't order online. Like, this is the one time I like actually have like a time crunch where I will be out of the country for like a long time, and I need before I go. So thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye guys.